Hello, this is Vicky from the Spellbound Bead Company. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a flower motif using oval candy beads and faceted beads, and then I'm going to show you how to connect them together to make this beautiful V drop shape necklace. So I'll just put that to one side. For each motif, you're going to need 5 oval candy beads, you're going to need 1 6mm facet, and you're going to need 5 4mm facets. So I'm going for a contrast centre and edge for my flowers. As you can see here, you can go for one that matches if you prefer. That's up to you. It doesn't make a huge difference to the overall look. I just like using the combination of colours. So I'm going to start by threading my needle with approximately 1/2 metre of thread. You don't need a long length of thread for these flowers. They're quite gentle on the amount of thread that you use. There. And then I'm going to tie a keeper bead on the end of the thread just to stop the beads falling off. Now, I'm not leaving quite such a long tail as I normally would for this one because there isn't a lot of thread to work with. So I'll just tie the keeper bead on there, and I'm going to start by picking up the candy beads. So candy beads have got a domed top and a flat bottom to them, and then they've got 2 parallel holes running through the centre of or through the side of the bead. It's important to make sure that when you pick the beads up, they're all facing in the same direction. And now for this particular design, I've chosen to have the domed top face up. There's no reason why you couldn't have them face down if you prefer. It's just they sit together and they'll sit against your skin more nicely if you have them so that the dome is sitting up. So I'm going to start by picking up 5 candy beads, and I'm going to make sure that all of the beads are sitting in the correct direction. 5, oops, like so. Double check they're all sitting the same way, and then I'm going to go back through all 5 beads a second time, like so, and this will bring them into a circle. Just make sure you keep your beads out of the way, like so, and that's made a nice firm circle. I'll go through the first candy bead again, just so that my working thread and my tail thread aren't coming out of the same bead. And now I'm going to apply the facet in the centre to the centre of this one. So to do that, I'm going to pick up my 6mm facet and I'm going to lay it over the top of my flower motif. Now, ideally, what I want is that the hole in this facet is sitting in line with the top motif here. So in this case, it's going to be running here. So to attach the facet, I'm going to go through the hole in that candy bead. Then I'm going to come back through the facet, and I'm just going to put my thumb on the top of that bead just to hold it in place so that your thread's nice and taut, you don't have it wobbling about. And then I'm going to reinforce this thread path. So I'm going to take my needle up between these 2 candy beads so that the thread goes around the thread that's between them, like so, and through the candy bead, the facet again, through my candy bead, back down through the facet, and then we're just going to go through the candy bead around the circumference of the flower. So to add the 4mm facets around the edge, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the bottom hole on this bead. I'm going to go into the top hole on the same bead, which will reverse the direction of my needle. So my needle's now coming clockwise around my work. I'm going to pick up a 4mm facet, go through the hole on the candy, pick up a 4mm facet, go through, pick up, go through. It's a good idea, of course, to check that all your candy beads have got 2 holes in before you start doing this, because otherwise it can be very frustrating to be at the end of your motif and not be able to finish it. Okay, so that's gone through all of the beads once, and I'm just going to pull on the thread slightly, and what you'll find is that your motif domes. So the centre is sitting proud away from the if you put it flat on the mat, you'll find that it's quite a domed motif. So that's what we want. And then to make sure nothing goes anywhere, we'll reinforce this edge with a second pass of beads, like so. Oops. There we go. And now we just need to finish off the thread ends on this. So I'll use a separate thread for connecting the motifs, so that if anything were to happen, if it was to come loose, the thread was to get worn, you wanted to change the style of the necklace, your motifs will stay intact and sturdy. So I'm just tying a knot around the thread between the beads and then repositioning the needle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out so I'm on the inside of the work, like so. And then I'll trim off that tail there. Then I will take the bead, keep a bead off here, and I'll rethread my needle, and then I will go through a bead here. Now, because of how tight this is in the middle, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to bring the thread up and work again around the outside of the motif, just because it's an easier path and it means you're less likely to bend or snap your needle. Okay, so that's secure, and we'll put that finished one there. And I've got 2 more that I've made here already, so I'll just make this third one. I'll do that off camera, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how to connect these in to make your necklace. So as you can see, I've now got my 4 motifs ready to connect into this front centre of the necklace. And to do this, I'm going to use some seed beads. Here I've got a size 10 in a Terra matte purple. The facets are also Terra finishes, so the finish on the seed is the same as the finish on these facets, so it matches really well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a slightly longer length of thread this time. I'm going to go for a metre, somewhere between 1 metre and 1.5 meters. And again, I'm just going to thread that with a size 10 needle. Oops. Nearly. There we go. Thread this with a size 10 needle, and I'm going to tie a keeper bead onto this end of the thread as well. Okay, so to make the centre of the necklace, we need to think about a few things. We want to think about the orientation of the flowers, and we want to think about the angle of the connection. So what I've done is I've made sure that all of my flowers are pointing so that they've got the single point, for want of a better, single petal at the top, and then the pair of petals at the bottom. And I've done that all the way down. So what it means is that we're going to connect from this candy bead to this facet, and then to get the angle on the join here so that we get the Y shape drop, we're going to connect from this facet to this candy bead, and we're going to connect from this facet to this candy bead, so that we'll get the nice Y-shaped drop that we're aiming for. So I've chosen to do this using loops of seed beads, so that they sort of echo the oval shape in the candy bead as well. So I've got all of my beads as well, so that the hole in the facet is running top to bottom. It does help if you've taken the time to do that, to make sure you follow it through. So all of the holes are sitting top to bottom in the facets that are on the central decoration as well. I'm going to start at the centre front of the necklace. So I'm going to come through the facet just to the side, just so that I'm not obstructing the working area with my keeper bead. So I'm going to come through that facet and then through that candy bead again. And I'm going to pick up 11 seed beads. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Bring those down. And then I'm going to come to the facet that's sitting at the bottom of this motif. I'm just going to go through that facet, like so. Check I'm happy with the spacing between these beads. And then I'm going to pick up another 11 to come back down the other side. 8, 9, 10, 11. And if you've ever watched a video that I've done before, you'll know that I find it impossible to count in my head, so apologies for that. So that's 11 there, and then we're going to come back through that candy bead again. Just take your time there, and that is our central dangle of the necklace. I'm then going to reposition the needle. So I'm going to come back up through this first strand of seed beads. Now be careful here not to pull this tight, because if you do, what will happen is you'll end up with this strand of seeds sitting slightly shorter than this strand, which will make your motif hang at an angle. We don't want it to be wonky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reposition. So I'm going to come back through that facet again. And we want to come out of this facet to the side of the top petal. So I'm just going to come through those beads again, and this all helps to strengthen the motif on the necklace, like so. Okay, so you want it pulled up reasonably tight. You don't want any gaps in your thread. You don't want any thread showing, but equally you don't want it too tight, which tends to be what my problem is. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to connect this facet to this candy bead. Now I've decided I want to make this link slightly shorter. So this time I'm going to go for 9 seed beads. It's only marginally different, but just enough to just to have a slight visual difference. So that's 6, 7, 8, 9 there. And so we're going from the facet through the candy bead. Move my thread out of the way. And then pick up another 9. Oops. 9. And through there. And again, just pull that through so it takes up the slack in your thread and it's sitting how you want it. Now, if I were making the 6 motif necklace, which is this one here, I'd reposition my needle again and I would be connecting from the candy bead to the candy bead on a second motif, because this here is a straight line. As you can see, they're straight lines from the candy bead to the candy bead. I've also made this link slightly longer. I think I might have gone up to either 13 or 15 beads on this side here. So I'd go up, reinforce that, and I'd actually do a second pass through and then come back down, work my way back down and come back up this side. Because I'm making this one slightly shorter, making a slightly smaller version, as I'm coming out of this facet, I'm just going to pass through the candy bead and the facet on the other side, and then again I'm going to add 9 seed beads and connect to this motif here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, just move this one out the way slightly, just make sure everything's sitting in the order that you want it. And the other thing to watch is that you're going through the right side of the candy bead here. So we're going to go through there like so, and I'm going to pick up another 9 and come back through the facet. Like so. And there you can see we've got the Y-shaped centre for my necklace. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish this thread end off again. So I didn't need quite as much thread as I thought I did. So I'll just come through a few beads, finish off the end, and then through a few more. It's getting quite tight now, there's quite a lot of thread through that bead, so I'll just take it through there and we'll trim that tail, and we'll take the keeper bead off here, but I'm just going to ignore that tail for now so I can show you how I'm going to make the connection for the stranding at the top of the necklace for the neck strap here. So I'm going to put my keeper bead back on the thread, and then I'm going to bring in some more 4mm facets and some 6mm facets for the clasp. I'm going to pick up 4mm facet, and then let me just double check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to pick up 9 more seed beads, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then I'm actually going to connect this one through the facet that's opposite the connection that we made to the centre of the necklace. So we'll go through that bead and we'll pick up another 9. And then we'll go back through the facet, and that will make similar shape link to the ones that we've got, whoops, at the front of the necklace. And then what I'll do is I'd add enough beads to make this necklace up to the length that I want it. So whoops, I'll make a short one this time, so I'm just going to add, I don't know, about 20 beads just so that you can see the effect. Maybe a few more. I don't think 20 is quite enough. So, okay, so pick up some beads. And then we're going to start by making the bead tag for this. So I've got 30 beads there. I'm going to pick up an extra one, which is this one here. I'm going to pick up a 6mm facet, 3 size 10s, second 6mm facet, and these are the Terra cerise finish. And then I'm going to pick up another 4 seed beads. We'll bring all that down, and then I'm going to make this little Picot point on the edge of the necklace here, which is just a decorative effect on the end of the necklace. So I'm going to go through the first bead that we added there, through the 6mm facet, the 3 in the middle, the first 6mm facet we put on, and then that single extra bead that we added on the clasp, like so. And there's the first half of the necklace. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add another 30 beads to come back down to the front of the necklace. Okay, so that's 30 beads. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back down through that first facet, and then we're going to reinforce this section of beading here. So we'll come down through the facet, back up the other side, I'm going to come back up alongside that keeper, and I'll take the keeper bead off. Oops. And we're going to knot these 2 ends together securely. A couple of knots there, like so, and then we'll finish off this thread end. So we'll go up through a couple of beads and tie a knot, and through a couple of beads, and we'll trim that off. Being careful not to cut through your strand of beads. Okay, so that's that side of the necklace completed. And then we'll do the same. Again, I'll finish this thread end off in a bit. So I'll just get myself another little length of thread. My poor old 9-way bobbin is looking very squashed. So, and then we'll do the same thing on this other side, but we're just going to add the loop for the closure instead of the tag. You can of course finish these thread ends off using calotte crimps. We do have a video for this in our Beading Basics playlist. So if you'd rather do that, you can do that instead and put a metal clasp on. But we find that lots of people like the bead and loop fastenings because there's no metal involved. So if you've got any sort of sensitivity or allergy, you're not going to have a problem. So we're going to start this in the same way. So we're going to pick up the 1 and then 9 again. Oops. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And again, we're going to go through the facet that's opposite the initial connection there. And then another 9 beads. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then through the facet. And then we're going to pick up the same number of beads for this side of the necklace, which in my case is 30. Obviously this one's much longer. If you want to work out how many beads to add, if you find the centre point of your necklace and think that that is where you want your necklace to sit, and then you've got a drop that's approximately an inch and a half underneath it. So if you want to make a necklace that's 18 inches to this point, 18 inches to this point here, what you need to do is make sure that each half of your necklace comes to 9 inches, because 2 9s is 18. Don't forget to take into account your clasp. That's just something to bear in mind. So here we go again. So we've got 30 beads to pick up here. So that's 30. And then I've just got a full mil facet to put onto. It's more of a decorative feature than anything else here. So put that on. And then we want a loop of beads that's going to sit over the facet, to the 6 mil facet, to make the fastening. So I'm going to pick up about 14 beads. And then we'll come back through that 4 mil facet, and I'm just going to hold that thread between my fingers to keep the tension in the thread here, and I'm just going to try that over the end there. Yep, and 14 is about right, because it's taking a little bit of force to go over, but not too much. So then we'll pick up another set of beads to come back down to the centre front of the necklace. 9, 10. So that's 30 altogether there. And again, we'll do the same on this side as we did on the other. So we'll come down through the facet again, through the beads to the centre front of the necklace. Up this other side. And just make sure that's not doubled. Take off the keeper bead. And then again, tie the 2 ends together, make it nice and secure, and then finish off these thread ends in the same way as before. So I'll go through a few. Through a few more beads, and then we'll trim that tail. Okay, and we will imagine that I have trimmed the rest of the tails off, finished those off. We'll assume that I have got the tiniest neck in the world, and there is our finished candy bead flower necklace. So that's it in the short version. This is it in the full size version. I do hope you've enjoyed the video. We'd love to see what you make. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram. If you just search for Spellbound Bead Company, will pop up. We look forward to seeing what you do with the designs. Don't forget, you can of course use these motifs to connect them end to end to make a bracelet as well. If you choose to do that, I'd love to see it. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and we'll see you again soon.